I am Julia with American Frontline Nurses, and we've got Nicole Sirotek with American Frontline Nurses. And today we are going to be talking about IV hydration. We've got a special guest who has companies all over the U.S. to be able to help our patients if they need IV infusions at home. And then she's also going to explain the differences with everything, like what companies to look for and what we should be taking care of, taking care of ourselves to avoid having to have IV hydration. If we can, sometimes we need it and it's the last resort. So Nicole, do you want to go ahead and bring Pam on?
Yep. And we've got Pam. Go ahead and introduce yourself, Pam.
Hi, everybody. My name is Pam McLeod. I am the president of Mobile IV Nurses, which is in Arizona and Florida. We also have Lone Star IV Medics, which is all over Texas, and Rocky Mountain IV Medics, which covers Colorado as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you again for being on our show today. As an infusion nurse myself for years and teaching patients how to do home infusion, it's something that's near and dear to myself. And Nicole was a home nurse as well with managing IVs. So this is something that we've been wanting to bring to our patients and our followers to be able to learn more about it.
Great. I'm here to help and answer some questions and see how I can help guide everybody in a great path to understand what we do, why we do it, and how to find it safely in your area too.
Fantastic. Could you give our viewers just a little bit of background on how you got interested in this and what caused you to go into this field?
Oh, I love
as
that.
a nurse.
I love nursing. I love being a nurse. I've been a nurse for just over 20 years. Sometimes I don't like to admit that. I'm like, I am not that old. But I've always worked in pediatrics. And so 19 years I spent working in long-term care in pediatrics and also all the way up to critical care in one of the highest level PICUs in the country. And I just am fascinated with it. But during that time period, I also started working for a naturopath, and I did infusions in her office for about 5 years. And I really fell in love with how you can combine the two, where a lot of people need medicine. But seeing what natural ways that we can also help the system when you are not feeling good or you've got a chronic illness, I just really loved it. Moving over into when I started going back to school for my master's and my doctorate program, I really started researching the body and genetics and genomics and looking at different pathways in the body that are literally supported by vitamins. And I'm like, wow, if your gene over here is turned on by taurine and that helps regulate your neurochemicals, like what? Man, maybe pay attention to that a little more. So it was just like this natural progression of just really, really understanding how the body works. And having a mobile company come out to me when I was pregnant and could not stop vomiting, and I couldn't go to an ER, and I just was like, this is the most convenient thing ever. So since 2019, I started working in the mobile space for hydration therapy. And in 2020, I quit the hospital and said, this is just not in my heart anymore. And now I help educate nurses and paramedics across the country. In all of our states, we have roughly around 700 nurses and medics that work for us in all 4 states. And I do the main education for that and help run the businesses as well. So I've really, really grown to love this industry and see how we can do this safely throughout the country.
That's absolutely fantastic. It's something that I've actually looked into myself. I've got a couple friends that do it here in California, and they have their own mobile businesses where they're trying to expand throughout California. So it's definitely something, as doing IV, for years before I switched over to doing what we're doing now with American Frontline Nurses. It's very, like I said, it's very near and dear to my heart, and being able to make sure that, proper and safe infusion is done in the home in a mobile setting, because things can go wrong, and it's something to make sure that the nurses and paramedics, my husband's a paramedic firefighter. So to know, they need to know exactly what to do in a situation, because it could be it's just them in the home with the patient.
It's a hard thing when we turn away a lot of people when we walk in that house. And I always tell everybody, we hire mostly nurses with ICU, ER backgrounds, because we want you to be able to walk in a room and say, I'm like, your spidey senses show up. We know that as nurses, you can literally just walk in and you get that gut feeling something's wrong. And every single time we encourage our providers to tell them, no, we cannot see you. Please go see your primary care. Please go to an ER. We will stay with people if we even call, we don't even assess them. We might do some vitals, but then we will call 911 for them and get them where they need to go. And I will say 100% of the time, there has been a reason that that patient needed to go to the ER and they've been treated for something. And we're like, thank you. And then we can see you when you're a little bit healthier, but we're very, very conscientious of making sure we're not pushing a boundary and we are doing things as safely as we can for that large group of people that are typically healthy adults. You just got knocked down by something and we're here to help you up a little bit.
But for somebody that has, major complications going on and they think, oh, just a bag of fluids is going to help me. Most times it's not they need more than just a bag of fluids.
Correct. Yeah, most definitely. We won't see anybody who has any sort of organ that is not functioning correctly. We won't work with someone with chronic or congestive heart failure, chronic kidney disease, liver failure. It also depends on your circulation, depending on, like, we walk in, they're like, no, my doctor just put me on a water pill, but I don't know why I swell all the time. And I'm like, okay. Well, I wish they could give you a little more answer. I can't give you an answer, but also I'm not the best thing that you need right now because I don't know where that fluid's going. And I don't know what happen if we give you a liter of fluid in the home and then you go take a nap and now you wake up and you've got like 3+ pitting edema in your feet. There's a reason you have edema. And so we're really, really conscientious in doing that good assessment to make sure we're seeing people that we should be.
That's absolutely fantastic that you guys have that training and you look for those nurses and paramedics to make sure that they have that training behind them as well. And that you're not putting, the nurse or the paramedic and then the patient at risk for something to happen. What is the best, website that we can pull up for you to be able to share? Do you have one main website?
Oh, sure. Well, we kind of do have all three, but I think Mobile IV Nurses is probably the one we're most recognized with. But again, it's very simple, Lone Star IV Medics and then Rocky Mountain IV Medics.com, both of them. So you can pull up either one and they kind of all have about the same thing on them.
Okay. So, what type of services, because I know there's different, there's just fluid hydration and there's also glutathione, different things. What type of services do you have? And then also what is the most, recommended or requested, I guess you would say?
Yeah, we actually, one of the things I love about what we do is we don't have you won't see on our website the package for a migraine, the package for dehydration, the package for a stomach bug. That's really confusing to the general public. They're like, well, I have a migraine because I'm dehydrated from the stomach bug. So which one do I get? We train our staff to make sure that we come to you and say, how can I help you? Why did you call me? And then we customize our options for you based on how you're feeling. So we encourage everybody and provide so much education to say, I want you to know your vitamins the way that you know medications you gave in the hospital or a medic on an ambulance. You need to know the vitamins and what they do so you can help. So our main thing that we honestly see people for is migraines and dehydration from illness. I mean, that when you've got a viral illness and you're breathing out of your mouth all the time for days on end because you're so congested and you can't drink, you feel terrible, you can get dehydrated from just breathing when you're sick. So the main thing that we do is we come out to provide hydration mixed with vitamin therapy just to help really support your body in whatever stress it's going through. Our most common package that we offer is a standard Myers. The Myers cocktail has been around from Dr. Johns Myers out of Johns Hopkins University for over 50 years. And it's an amazing blend of 6 different vitamins that can really target so many areas of your body to just give it that extra support it needs to get through things. And what I love about the Myers is just it's our most simple package to offer, and it really does just provide that baseline defense about anything that you've got going on. And then we kind of move things around there based on whether you're sick, not sick, need energy, or even you're really stressed out and your brain's going a million miles a minute, taurine, man, it is a game changer for the hamster wheels in your head. There's so many studies about taurine that is just amazing. So we really focus on customizing based on your needs.
That's phenomenal. And just thinking about that, because I've got so much going on right now that I am like beyond stressed. The hamster wheel. Yeah, that is totally the last like 2 weeks.
So do you have anyone in California we can send over to Julia's house?
I actually think I do. I will see. I think there is a company that we love. We will refer people out all the time. If we can't get to someone, we will do our due diligence to see who we can get to you. So I believe I've got some companies in California I could recommend.
That would actually be amazing, because like I'm like in the process of a job change, and it's been like so stressful. And like last night, I mean, I hate taking Benadryl, but it's gotten to the point where like I need to sleep. And so I took a couple Benadryl last night, and I slept for like an hour and a half. And then
oh my gosh,
wake up tossing and turning. And I'm like, okay, I'm staring at my phone, and I'm just like, this is like, I need something.
Taurine is amazing. NAD is, I call it the spice to life. And I really geek out when I talk about NAD and methylation, but NAD is, it is the kind of the powerhouse inside your mitochondria. And it's even part of the Krebs cycle as well. And it's converting each enzyme of the Krebs cycle. And so it helps you sleep better. It helps your energy production as your cells divide properly, and it's stimulating healthy cell division. Well, that's how you create your own natural energy. It's based on your cellular division. So NAD is just amazing. And there's just such incredible research out there, from anything from concussions to traumatic brain injuries, Alzheimer's, dementia, mental health. It's NAD is kind of part of almost every aspect of how our body functions. And so replenishing that, even with small doses, can be game changer in a lot of people.
I've heard a lot of people taking like the supplements, the NAD supplements, but like for myself, I have a rerouted intestinal system, so I don't process things properly. So it's like any kind of vitamin that I take, I may only get 20% of that vitamin.
Right.
So doing it by IV, it's so much stronger. Plus, I know with NAC, taking it orally, you don't get the full effect. But when you do it in an infusion, it goes straight into your system, and your body's not having to process it in the way that it would be.
It's kind of, if you think of the difference between an oral antibiotic and an IV antibiotic, which one is your body going to absorb more and have less side effects? You take oral antibiotics, you might be on the pooper for quite a while, and versus IV, you may not get that gut reaction to it. And so giving it something as an IV, you have the ability to absorb 100% of it. So it's got that 100% bioavailability. Well, glutathione is such a major antioxidant in our body. It's our biggest powerhouse of a way to get that oxidative stress down from the chemicals and the toxins floating in our system. We produce it naturally, but when we're sick, Tylenol actually depletes your body's ability to produce your glutathione. And so that was something I remember in the hospital. Is I had asked one time, I said, we have so many kids, whether they're brain injuries or oncology or just whatever reason, we're giving Tylenol every 6 hours. And I was like, if we know that Tylenol does this, which the kids need the Tylenol, but if you know it does this, why can't we then supplement once a day with IV glutathione to help replenish that, decrease their oxidative stress, improve disease process? Oh, it's not FDA approved, so we can't do that. And I'm like, well, neither is this machine I'm using on a 2-kilo baby, but here we are.
Here we are.
I love that we can do that. But I'm like, why are vitamins just like so negative? I don't know. I'm like, they need the Tylenol. Let's just help their system. So it's, glutathione, but unless it's liposomal glutathione, your ability to pull it up and go check on, or pull it up and be able to absorb it is so low. You bind it with a fat molecule and you get more, or they say it's like up to 40 to 50% potentially of that dose. I give it in an IV, it increases the bioavailability of it of up to 100% of that dose. And so, and the higher you get the concentration in your bloodstream, the quicker it actually has ability to cross like your blood-brain barrier a little bit more, and it's more effective when it gets in very quickly because it has such a short half-life. So this is what I love about vitamins. I'm like, oh, that makes sense.
It really does, because I mean, just even with today's food system, we're not getting the minerals and the vitamins that we should. And, even organic foods,
Right.
stuff has been, it's so stripped. Our ground is so stripped. And then we have a farm and we're on well water, but we're surrounded by walnut orchards and vineyards that do conventional farming. So I know our groundwater is contaminated, and, it's like, all of the Roundup, all of the toxins and everything, it's no wonder that, I've got leaky gut. I've got all these issues, I've had sections of my intestines, like I said, rerouted. So it's like, I've had so many issues over the years, and I know a large part of it is just due to the lack of proper minerals and vitamins. And
absolutely. And our day-to-day American diet just doesn't have it there. And it's, taking a multivitamin every day, eating as best as you can, drinking water. Please, everybody, don't call us because you just don't want to drink water. In Arizona, you have to drink so much water to really just maintain normal hydration. So, we have a lot of people that use us for general health and wellness, and we see them every month and they love it. It's so helpful for them just to get that dose. But again, I love a good multivitamin, a healthy one. Love good oral hydration. Please try that first. But we're here to be like, you know what, when you're just really not feeling good and you need some help, that's when our services are so beneficial. It's just because there's so many things in life in our day-to-day that just kind of knock us down, and to give your body what it needs to function properly, it's just so helpful.
And it's also helpful, like, if you are not feeling good. And I know for like myself and other people, they've let themselves go too long, and then they end up in the ER and they're dehydrated. They're feeling like crap. They're, vomiting or, having diarrhea, and they're sitting in the waiting room for 5, 6, 8 hours, especially like right now, Kaiser's on strike. Like, I don't even want to think about what is happening right now in healthcare here in our area, because the ERs are being staffed by, travel nurses, and they're not getting the wait times are huge. So if somebody is starting to not feel good, in my opinion, it's like, get a service in, like your service is in, like ASAP, before they end up having to, call my husband, and they end up in the ambulance, and then they're sitting in the ambulance bay because because the ER is so short staffed. And I mean, their wall time sometimes the medics are sitting out there for 4, 6, 8 hours. Right. And it's especially during the height of COVID. It was bad.
Horrible. It was so bad. We would go into a home, and I felt so bad. This family called us. They had been turned away from the ER the day before, and we went out there. I mean, Arizona, the time it hit us was in July, our hottest month of the year, and we are going into homes full on PPE. Like, we were decked out because we're going home to home. So we are trying our best, in this uncertain time and weird time. Medics weren't even allowed to go into people's home. You had to get them to the door, and I'm like, okay. So I walk in, and there's this gentleman laying on a bed, and I'm like, I honestly didn't know if he was alive or not. And I walked over, and I'm like, oh, you're breathing. Like, I almost had a heart attack. And I aroused him, and I just started taking vitals, but I immediately told the family, you need to call 911. And they just said, but they turned us away yesterday. And I said, he's worse. And she's like, okay. I got his pulse ox on. His sats were in the 70s. So I get him, and this is a big dude, and I am sweating, and I lifted him up to get him to sit up. And I'm like, I got a mask on, but I'm in his face. Like, I need you to talk to me. So they ended up getting a computer chair, and we got him in the computer chair and rolled him to the door, and medics got there. And by the time I got him sitting up, his sats were 88. They still couldn't take him. He didn't meet criteria to take. So I told him, I was like, I can't see him. I cannot give him fluid. I felt so bad that I could not do anything. He was too unsafe for me to see, but he couldn't go to the ER. And I was like, oh my gosh. Well, I just went back the next day and was like, let me check on him. And he was even worse the next day. So I again called 911, and this time they took him and he ended up being intubated. But they, and I think he made a great recovery, which is wonderful. But that, I think, was what was amazing of us during that time period, is so many people were scared to go to the ER or were turned away. And they would call us. And if it hadn't been that they called us to get that family member to the ER and really tell them, you have got to go, we were really helping make sure just people knew they needed to go. And I think so many people would have just stayed home. And
and so many people did. My father-in-law ended up in the hospital because he tested, this was 2020. I think it was December of 2020. He tested positive the day after Christmas. He wasn't feeling good the couple days before Christmas, but then tested positive the day after, and they turned him away. They're like, go home and call us when you can't breathe. Well, of course he's not going to call them. Who's he going to call? He's going to call his son and his daughter-in-law, or, medic and nurse. And we get over there, take one look at him, and we're like, oh no, you need to go. And he was pulled into the hospital, and we didn't see him for 4 days. And he was so out of it. His breathing was so bad. He was so dehydrated. And, it was just one of those things that he didn't want to tell us how bad he was. But then when my husband called to check on him, and he was so confused, that we're like, oh no, we've got to drive, and it's an hour drive, but I'm like, I don't care. We're going. And then we put him we got somehow between the two of us, got him in the vehicle and got him up to the ER. But it was just so many people waited until it was too long to go in because they were told, we can't do anything for you, which,
that was so hard to see. Was so hard to see. And I think we even got, I know in Arizona, we had people from DHS that had reached out to just the companies we were working for and was thanking us for helping, because it was, we were really, really diligent of not pushing. We never want to push the boundaries on what we can do in a home. What we're here to do is treat the patient with a typical migraine. If this is the worst migraine you've ever had in your life, we won't see you. We want to make sure that we are there. We're very, very conscientious in pregnancy, with history, looking at everybody, making sure, if we do have a mom who's just has severe hyperemesis and she's like, I can't get to an ER, but I need help. As long as everything meets our standards and they fall within our protocols of who we can treat and who we can't, we are so helpful. You've got that stomach bug. You don't have, you ate really, really bad food from a fast food place. You shouldn't have had at 2 a.m. But now you're just vomiting or can't get off the toilet on one direction. It's amazing to help the ERs not have those people go in, because majority of the time they're going to get fluids, get some Zofran or whatever it is, and then send them on their merry way. Why not free up the ERs when we can? In Arizona, we see a lot of people that come to us with heat exhaustion, and we have the very good parameters between dehydration, heat exhaustion, heat stroke. When you've gone from heat exhaustion to heat stroke, we are not getting involved. We are going to send you. So we have lots of construction companies that call us and they're like, I got a man down. We're like, all right, we show up at the construction site and we'll treat, it's literally our man down package. It's funny. And we go out and see their staff at the site, because we're like, don't drive anywhere. But a lot of times they don't even know because they're not medical, they don't know when they've crossed that line. So I think that's one of the things that we do really well is we do not push any boundaries. If you need an ER and you need a physician, an NP, someone's eyes on you that is not an RN or a paramedic, we will 100% turn you away and say, you've got to go there first, because this just isn't safe. A liter of fluids is safe in majority of people, but we also want to make sure that we don't cover up anything or miss anything. So we're really, really good about making sure people get to where they need to go.
And that's fantastic, because there's so many people just think, oh, I just need fluids and I'll be fine. Or even drinking water. If you're drinking a lot of water and you're not replenishing the electrolytes, especially in the heat, where we are, it gets 110, just like Arizona, 100,
right?
100, we're central California. So it gets hot. It gets really hot here in the summertime. And that's one of the things with my husband. I'm like, I can tell when he's dehydrated, and I'm like, oh no, you need to you need to start stepping it up, because I don't want to have to do an IV in the kitchen for you.
Right.
Yeah, it's like, I don't want to be doing it, buddy. So you better step up your electrolytes. But
most definitely.
a lot of times people don't even think about it. Like, well, I'm drinking water, but they're not thinking about replenishing. Yes, water is helpful, but they are not replenishing their electrolytes. And by having an electrolyte infusion, even once a month would be beneficial for people during the summertime, especially for people that work outside.
Yeah. We actually go to companies during staff meetings.
Oh, that's phenomenal.
A couple times during the month is they'll come through, because they know that they're providing a really good service to their employees by getting us out there. I mean, I've gone to a car dealership when it was, when the pandemic was here, but car dealerships were still open. It's like everyone was just exhausted because it was so hard. And then half the people are sick. And so we would actually not only do the COVID testing like once a week when that whole shenanigans was happening. And so we were out there to do their COVID testing. Anyone who tested positive were like, you got to go home. They'd get an IV infusion of just immune supportive vitamins and then get sent home on their merry way to wait until the next round of testing and test negative and come back to work. But that was really amazing to not only make sure they were keeping everyone in their company safe, but was also the ones that were sick were like, hey, let me help your immune system out a little bit. Go home and try to feel a little bit better. But it was fun to kind of go and do all that, because you were just seeing the companies that really wanted to make a difference for their employees during this that crazy time we had. Yeah,
not just sending them home and like, call us in 2 weeks or whatever, because the quarantine time kept changing. It was 10 days, then it was 7 days. Then, I mean, I don't think they even have quarantine time.
You're not.
Yeah, exactly. I know, it was crazy when I was still working bedside. I was just like, wait a minute. Last week it was 7 days. Now, okay, we can work if we're positive as long as we have a mask and we have no symptoms.
Right.
Like, how does any of this make sense? So, I mean, stuff is just crazy.
We had that too. It was like, it didn't matter if you were positive or negative, just if you had symptoms. And I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah.
It was definitely a weird time. I am thankful that we're not in the middle of that anymore.
Yeah, exactly. It's crazy. What about high dose vitamin C? Can you do that? And
we do not. We go up to 10 grams per infusion, but high dose vitamin C, you'll see so much research out there, but majority of it concludes anything between you'll see 20 to 25 grams in a single infusion is considered high dose. High dose is where the vitamin C turns from an antioxidant to a pro-oxidant. And so it actually works in your body very differently. So you have to infuse it different. And there's other things that go on where it's, a one-time dose when you're super sick. You should actually really have the antioxidant benefit of that. The pro-oxidant comes when you have chronic illness, cancers, and things like that. That high dose vitamin C is extremely beneficial. But there are definitely some good protocols that you need to follow when you are giving that multiple doses in a row, or if you have like a regimen where you're doing it once or twice every week for a sustained period of time, you can actually start dropping your calcium levels. So you do need to replace with calcium. Making sure that it's being given with different other supplements like taurine and B12 that really help support the pathway of what's happening when you are hyperoxidating your environment inside your body. So there's different things you need to do. So we do not do that in a mobile sense. It's a lot of extra supplies our people need to carry. And it was really hard because the amount that we had to charge in a mobile setting was much higher than we were actually comfortable charging patients. And even though patients requested it, it was something we didn't feel right doing as well. And so that was something we were like, you know what, I don't think that the high dose vitamin C should be given in our setting. But it is amazing to find. And we know of amazing clinics and naturopaths that we will refer people out to that actually do that, just to make sure that their blood work is checked prior. It's being given in the correct manner that it should be as well.
That's awesome, because I know that was a big request for COVID. People would be calling us. They're like, well, we just need high dose vitamin C. And it's like, I don't know if that can be even done in a home setting. So that's good to know that it's something that you guys, know about it, but you don't do it just because of the parameters that need to be done with it.
Right.
And I mean, I know vitamin C is very helpful. But then also, the not having the right vitamin C can be, if you take too much of the wrong type of vitamin C, you can have the gastrointestinal issues, and then you're just flushing everything out, because vitamin C is water soluble. It's not a fat soluble type. But then a lot of people during COVID, we were having people taking the
We saw a lot of that.
Yeah. A lot of that.
I know.
Now you're dehydrated on top of it. You lost all your vitamins and minerals.
Yeah.
And there are some protocols where it's vitamin C to bowel tolerance.
Yes. And
crank it up until you just can't take it anymore because it's just straight up coming out. And then you're like, now you back down. And you're like, okay, that's how much I can take orally. Thankfully, through an IV, we bypass the gut. So we don't have those. Like, we can give higher doses of magnesium, and you're not going to be having the runs to the bathroom all the time because it's not going through that process. But yeah, it's, you always have to do things safely. And if you're getting that much vitamin C from a vial, really using preservative free is a goal. But again, preservative free then becomes more expensive. And it's like, it was just too much for us to really, really do. And we had a fun time with physicians. We never want to, anyone who has like treatment plans with their physicians, when it comes to chemo, radiation, or IVIG therapy, immune therapy type things, we tend to be very conservative, because what we want to give, we don't want anything to interact with someone else. And there was for a long time with another company I worked for.
You mean interact with the physician's ego?
Yes. Yes.
Sorry.
Yes. We do have a lot of physicians that don't necessarily find what we do beneficial. That is a hard thing. We do get a lot of fun social media comments. The snake oil is my favorite. I'm like, hey, have you ever tried valproxen, which is actually snake venom or viper venom or something along those lines, and it's a pain relieving cream? I'm like, dude, that stuff works. It's snake venom, but I'm going for it. We are backed by physicians. We have medical directors. One of our medical directors is an ER physician. Like, physicians love there's a lot of physicians who love what we do. And I think it's until they see, and not every company is different. There are the hangover bars. That's really all they do is some general health and wellness, and it's a hangover bar, and you see them posting about hangovers all the time. Yes, some people think that's a lot of what we do. Hangovers. Yeah, we do some hangovers. They're kind of fun. They're fun parties. But what's kind of crazy is we have, that's a very tiny percentage of what our companies do. Seeing roughly 7,500 patients every month between all of our companies. Hangovers. Oh, wow. We're pretty big. I love it. Our hangovers are very, very small part of what we do. But it's, they're funner to put on social media and have some fun with it than the mom whose head is in a toilet puking.
Exactly.
I'm like, which one are we going to put on social media? I'm going to tell you that one. But, it is hard sometimes working with physicians, and we just don't, we also don't want to, if they're like, I remember there was a lady who I felt so bad. She was in a research study for something involving the thyroid, and post-COVID thyroid issues. Her thyroid was huge, and it was like so hyperthyroid. She had never had thyroid issues before. So she was in a study. She did an infusion. It was just a Myers, and she got NAD. She sent me a message in the morning, and her throat, there was no more swelling. The swelling overnight had gone. And we were like, wow, that's weird. She got kicked out of the study because she did something different. And so they were like, I don't want to, and thankfully they did that. They're like, I don't want to report that the medication we're giving you worked, because you're going to screw our results in the positive. So I was like, oh, a research company was happy with that. I was very thankful they did that.
Well, obviously their medication did not work. They didn't want to admit that it didn't work.
I was like, oh my gosh, I think she'd been taking that med for like 6 weeks at that time or something. And I couldn't remember what she told me about, like, how her levels were coming down. And so, but then right after she had the NAD, her levels came back like almost 2/3 lower than what they had been. And you're like, okay, so they were like, we can't have you in the study. So that's another reason why the high dose vitamin C was hard, is we just didn't want to do any sort of change in that person's game plan, because it could really alter what their doc wanted. If they saw a huge decrease in cancer markers, and it was not because of us, it was because of the chemo or radiation regimen they were on, they might pull back and then it explodes and gets better or gets worse. And we're like, uh-oh. So we really, really wanted to make sure that we were doing things as safe as possible and not really getting in the way of what was going on. If a patient wants natural therapies during that time of their life, we always suggest they work with a naturopathic physician. Those two can collaborate, and we're off on the side going, this is a little too much for us. So that's another reason why we kind of pulled back from that, is we just don't want to skew anything and then have a negative outcome one way or the other. So it's those types of things. We always recommend someone work with a naturopath or functional medicine physician.
And that's good that you guys have, you're able to tell them that, this is not something because you're working with somebody else with another medication.
Right.
You have that set in place to be able to tell them they need to work with somebody else. So that's not putting your company at risk. It's not putting your nurses and your paramedics or the patient at risk. If something
it's always being honest with the patient. Even something as simple as they'll be like, oh, I have a vitamin D deficiency. Can I treat you? And I was like, we don't treat deficiencies, disorders, diagnoses. We don't treat anything. We help provide your body with support from the normal things that you need to help it through stressful times. That is literally what we do. And because I'm not here to interpret your labs, I'm not here watching your labs. And if you're taking vitamin D supplements with your physician and then you start seeing us and they're like, wow, your numbers look great. Let me take you down. And then you are like, oh, but I was also doing this. Which one was the most helpful? And then if you stop one and then you're like, oh, shoot, now my numbers went back to lower. They're like, what's going on? This seems so weird. And it can kind of confuse them too. So yeah, we'll always tell people, if you need a vitamin D shot because you're sick, please, if you've got an icky cold, a flu bug, something going on, vitamin D is amazing for your immune system. Let's go ahead and do that. But if you are seeking out guidance of treatment for off labs, a diagnosis, a disorder, that's where you got to work with a physician or a naturopath or someone somewhere.
And that's good that you guys have those parameters set in place so that your staff knows that they that has that. Speaking of staff, like if someone wanted to, because we have so many nurses and so many paramedics and firefighters that watch our podcast. If somebody wanted to join to become an employee, is it contract work?
We do contracts, yes, and we do that because we always want to make sure that we are providing for our nurses and our medics. So we are probably not one of the higher paying ones out there. They can go to any one of our websites. So again, it's mobileivnurses.com, RockyMountainIVMedics.com, and Lone Star IV Medics. We have on any one of those, we have a careers page there. You can go through, fill out the quick application, and it'll send over an email to our hiring managers who are amazing. And we really, really could use a whole lot more nurses through Texas and in Florida. Florida is the fourth one that we've opened so far, and we're growing all over Florida. So definitely looking for amazing nurses in Florida. We actually cannot hire paramedics in Florida. Okay. But definitely nurses. Everywhere else is nurses and medics. And, we have a thing that it's patients and providers over profits. And we really want to make sure if we take care of our nurses and our medics, because we are nurse and medic owned and run, all of the team, all of our executive team and our owners, except for one, they're all nurses and medics. And
that's awesome.
So if we can provide an amazing company that takes care of our nurses and our paramedics, they take care of the patients, and that takes care of the business side. We don't like to talk about sales. We don't like to talk about profits. That's not what we're here to do. We're here just to make a change in the lives of nurses and medics and patients, and give people an option when it's safe to have another option in their healthcare. And that's what we're here to do, is do a whole lot for very simple things and try to be as cost effective as possible.
That's fantastic. And it also takes, I know with the rising insurance costs now, having, I think my ER deductible is like $500. It's ridiculous. It's something crazy, but having you guys come out for, a couple hundred, I would rather do that, not have to deal with sitting, wall time of, 6 to 8 hours waiting for fluids and be able to have it at home.
And we have some expensive packages, and I've actually undersold people. They're like, I want this. I'm like, you don't need that. Try this instead. It might be great. But someone with a simple stomach bug, pregnancy, puking, migraine are big ones. I think our package is like $175. We do have to adjust our prices a smidge coming next month, but it'll be like $175, $185 for us to come out and do that. We don't, unless you're outside of our normal areas, which that's pretty far. We don't have an extra travel fee. We don't have any of those things. So, again, unless you're outside of our area. But other than that, all of our fees are included for the most part.
Well, thank you so much. This is phenomenal. Aside from your websites, so what are your, you said social medias. Are you on Facebook and Instagram?
We're both on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. And it's all the same of our websites is the exact same name for all of our social medias as well. So you can find us at, Instagram at Mobile IV Nurses, and again, Rocky Mountain IV Medics in Colorado, and then Lone Star IV Medics is in Texas. Okay. Awesome. And so Instagram, TikTok, we'll find Facebook.
All those. Facebook. Perfect.
We're everywhere.
We'll find all the links, and we'll have them so that way all of our viewers with the websites as well, with everything.
That's great. And we respond to that. If you guys send in a message on Instagram or Facebook, or even give us a call or a text, if it's a patient, we have live people who actually answer you. It might seem automatic and delayed, but we don't have an AI bot. We don't have anything. We are there. We have the most amazing dispatch team who is so caring and wonderful. And that you actually get a live person to talk to and text. So it's not an AI bot, but we put the effort into them as well to make sure that when people call in, you're getting taken care of well.
That's good, because so many companies, I mean, it's like AI is like, it's all the rage right now. So many companies are switching over to the AI bot chat.
It's so hard.
It really is. I know for myself, it's so frustrating when you're trying to reach somebody and you get a voicemail, you leave a voicemail, 3 days later, you don't hear anything. And, and those 3 days, especially if you're sick, something could drastically go wrong.
Yes. So when you call, we are there to talk with you and help and get you situated with a nurse or medic to come out. So I truly love this company and this industry, and, we're doing everything we can to make sure we're continuing to be as safe as possible and really, really just giving everybody that choice.
That's fantastic. Hours wise, is it like Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, or do they do?
We are 400 days a year, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. I think sometimes on Christmas, not a lot of people reach out on Christmas, but we do have providers that run Christmas. Other than that, we are open every single day. It's 8 to 8. We do have after hours depending on availability. So if someone's like, I'm flying back into town, and you call us early enough and you're like, can someone be here at 8:39? That is when we do charge an after hours fee to come out. Or sometimes some people want us before they're leaving for an airport run. They're like, can you get someone here at 5 a.m? We can always try. And then you can book on our websites to book an appointment, or you can call or text in or even message us on Facebook, and we'll get you situated as well. And then things are subject to availability. So we usually always try to get to the patient at the time that they were requested, but we might have some alternate times that we need to show up just based on who's around and where they're running. But we do try to get to everybody within I would say about 2 hours from the time that you book.
Oh, that's fantastic. So thank you so much. It's like I said earlier, for me when I was doing infusion and teaching patients, how to do their infusion at home, it was like when we started talking to Jess about this, I'm like, yeah, we need to bring this on and have it be a service available for our followers and for like myself. Nicole already sent me a message. She's like, we need to find somebody to send someone to your house.
Yeah, I'm like, she's barely hanging on immune system wise. I'm like, she's been under so much psychological stress.
Yes,
I'll find a company for you when I know
what area you're in. Yeah, it's amazing.
I'll respond to the email with our link for today, and let you know the area that I'm in, because I do know of a couple services that I can go, like my naturopath down, but it's an hour drive downtown.
Oh, that's right.
And I really don't want to deal with driving downtown and just the area down there.
You're already stressed out. You don't need to drive downtown.
Exactly.
No. Yeah, so we'll go ahead and I'll get you some ideas of someone in your area, hopefully, because it's truly such a wonderful service. And it's helped me a lot. I can't say enough things about taurine. If anyone can have like a higher dose of taurine in an IV, it's purely magical for your crazy brain. And I think a lot of ICU and ER nurses and medics, we are also ADHD and wired all the time. Like, it's amazing what happens when it like calms. You're like, huh, that's fun. Like, it just kind of shuts down. It's really wonderful.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. Like my husband, he's been a firefighter paramedic for almost 26 years, I think is what he's going on now. And so it's like, he can't sit still when he's home. He's just always just like moving. And I'm like, you just got off a 72-hour shift. Sit down for an hour and take a nap. He does.
Like, we're on a Zoom and he's in the background, like throwing drywall or something. Crazy.
Well, we're all like that. Like, if I have a patient in the ICU on 17 drips, I am so happy. I am calm. I've got this. You give me a patient who's got an antibiotic every 6 hours and I have to set an alarm to make sure I do it, because I'm like, I don't know what to do with myself.
Yeah.
I'm in my patient's room coloring and making tutus and decorating boots or something, because I'm like, well, I've got time. Let's go play. I'm like, I always have to be doing something. But vitamins make the world go round in our little selves, and that's truly what we need to be at our brink of health, is to give our body what it needs. And so when you're stressed out or something's going on in your body, vitamins are going to be a really amazing benefit.
Yeah. And I just like, the more we talk about this, the more I'm like, I need to find somebody like in the next couple of days.
Right?
Yeah.
No, that would be amazing. I'll see what I can do.
That would be great. Well, thank you, Pam, so much. We truly appreciate you coming on, and we will have all of the links for everybody so that they can reach out to you. And
perfect.
That way they can, if somebody needs something. And guys, again, if you are, so sick that you think that IV hydration is going to help you, but you're too sick, make sure you go to the ER. That's the one thing we do not want to have somebody not go to the ER if they need to go to the ER.
Yes, absolutely. That is definitely a game plan. But in the meantime, when you don't have an emergency, but you feel like, that's what we're here for.
Well, thank you so much, Pam.
Thank you guys so much.
Have a wonderful evening. Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Bye.